no balls far. You want good words? Data Languager.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Count with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Garrison Financial Friday out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. We got all kinds of things to discuss. College football weekend coming up, high school football tonight all across Oklahoma and the panhandle of Texas. How in the world did the Chiefs' right tackle get away with false starting the entire game? And if you say he was not false starting, he was dang sure lined up illegally. You know who else does that?
Cheaters? I don't know. Who?
Former Sooner Lane Johnson. Watch him play. It's an exact replica. And he was defending Taylor vehemently on the Twitter sphere last night just because he doesn't think he's cheating either. So that was an interesting game, man. It's amazing how fast the Chiefs go to average on offense without Travis Kelce.
You trying to get somebody in here?
No. I'm going to get the text line fired up. Where you at, Dakota? He wouldn't even give us anything other than Chiefs winning the Super Bowl yesterday. Of course, you know what? If you'll remember last year on this very show, about the fourth Monday of the NFL season, our good buddy Jim declared the Chiefs done. And a lot of people were thinking, he might be right. No Tyreek.
Yeah.
Offense looks. And then Travis Kelce and Mahomes turned that completely around. Their defense started getting better.
It's amazing how good the wide receivers are when Travis Kelce is.
That's exactly right. He's obviously not the MVP of that team.
No.
But, man, if he ain't there.
He might be 1B.
It's a lot different look for the Chiefs. I got to find this sound.
Here's a question. When was the last time a team won a Super Bowl after losing both tackles?
That's a great question. Oh, here you go. Yeah, Dakota wants to trade for Mike Evans. I thought about that myself last night. So Mike Evans has given the Bucs till Saturday, or he's leaving after this year. So obviously they would want to get something for him. Mike Evans makes that team look a lot different. You realize
Baker's got a lot of support down there in Tampa Bay.
I was just having a conversation with Possum about our fantasy team because when you read all this stuff for the upcoming week, one of the best matchups for a receiver is Godwin against Minnesota. And they were thinking, do we trust Baker? Do we trust that offensive line? You figure they'll be behind Minnesota, so they got to be throwing it a bunch.
Yeah, they will be throwing.
And maybe you won't have enough time to fling it down to Mike Evans 50 yards down the field. So, there's Godwin. 10 catches, 200 yards.
Yeah.
That'd be nice after a 2 spot from Jerick McKinnon. Thank you, Andy Reid. Appreciate that. Anyhow, that's NFL. Only one game in. There's already so much intrigue because of what happened. Jared, what's going on over there? Feel like you're just typing.
Yeah, I am. I'm
typing.
Well, I'm getting the podcast ready already. It's gonna be a busy day. We got a lot of stuff to do before we leave.
Yes,
I do.
I did a bunch of mine yesterday.
Well, good for you.
I need a haircut. Still do that, Scott?
I can hook you up, man.
Hey, I know
I just haven't found time.
I don't know if I should say this on air. So someone caught somebody at a hair salon. You ever been to a hair salon, Scott? A salon.
I've been to a salon a time or two.
Have you gotten your hair done at a salon?
Time
Not
or
a
two.
barber
Not
shop,
very many times.
but a salon?
Not very many times.
Yeah?
Yeah. I kind of felt a little bit like less of a man when I did it.
Somebody texted me, go, you won't believe who I just saw in this hair salon.
Oh, no.
And first I'm like, what are you doing in a hair salon? Well, we're trying to get some money for a golf tournament. Oh, okay. Well, who'd you see? one of our coworkers in there getting his hair done at a hair salon.
One of our coworkers?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's definitely Sean.
His hair done.
It definitely was.
He got his hair did.
Definitely.
I was like, LOL.
Well,
That's
I
funny. I
mean-
thought he was kidding.
Wouldn't you rather go to a salon after what your team did last night? I mean, then you don't know you're not going to have to talk about it.
My
Sean.
team. Oh, you were
Sean,
talking.
yeah.
Well, he was going before, so he was
Oh, that's
preparing
true. That's true.
to look good for a loss. At a
Casey
hair
needed to
salon.
take that win, that selfie after a win.
Right, yeah.
And his hair would look nice, and unfortunately,
So all these
I didn't
visions,
see it.
all these pictures of him at a hair salon came in my head. As you sit on one of those, do they still have those? Where on the chair with the air dryer that you put over your head? Is he
Like to
what
get a
magazine
perm?
is he reading?
That's how
What
it always-
magazine is he
That's how it
reading?
always
When
comes
Fox
out
and Hound.
silky smooth.
is he reading Better Homes and Gardens
that?
in there when he's?
What was that Adam Sandler movie where he's the hairstylist?
Don't mess with the Zohan. or-
The Zohan, yeah.
I was thinking about
Is he gossiping in there? Is he getting the latest? Is he getting the Elk City tea in there? Is he getting all
Speaking
the
of
gossip?
Elk City, I am as excited about tonight as I am about any game happening this whole weekend.
Man, I started doing some research yesterday, looking for stats, and I was able to find full game stats for Canadian to start the year, the first two games. They have put up 55 in both. 49-0 at half down at Seminole. And then they've gotten out to 35-0 leads in the first half in both of these games. And then they beat Bushland, Texas. And they when you kind of start reading the paper or whatever out there, this game last week and tonight, they're kind of labeling it like the Revenge Redemption Tour.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Because both of those teams beat them a year ago.
They got out
Bushland
to a
and-
pretty
and
good
Elk
lead
City.
on us last year too.
They did. The stats, if you want to make your head spin, so Cameron Cavalier, which he was the quarterback last year, he was incredibly awesome.
Yeah.
His first two games so far this season, he is 31 of 43, which is 72%. He's thrown for 597 yards, so just a skosh under 300 yards a game. He's thrown 5 touchdowns in each of the first two games with 0 turnovers. He's also rushed the ball 19 times for 226 yards and a score. So that means he's putting up about 415 a game total yardage. Just him.
That's pretty incredible.
I don't remember this name from last year, and maybe because he was kind of an H-back, but Luke Flowers, he looks like a big old dude, number 35. They've split him kind of out into the slot with the way they've been defended. All he's done is 10 catches, 223, and 7 scores.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow.
Now-
22 yards a catch for a big slot
I mean,
back.
he looks pretty fast. I mean, he just anyhow. I was reading.
Have him on your fantasy team.
Listen, if you got those two, you'd be rolling up the points. But that's the challenge. Obviously, talking to Coach Maynard in here on Wednesday. I mean, it's just like a lot of times what you would hear from other teams coming into Norman against a Lincoln Riley team, and that is the best defense is to not let them have the ball.
Yeah.
And thinking back to that game last year, right there coming out of halftime, the Oaks got the second half kick, and what did they do? They marched. It was like a 9-minute drive to take the lead, and it almost reminded you watching a team that presses in basketball. They were trying to go so much fast. Just it was like we haven't had the ball in forever. We got to get
Yeah.
And then eventually they did take the lead back, but
Yeah, just knock them out of that rhythm.
it's a challenge. As much as everybody knew next week was going to be this crazy challenge
Oh.
with Carl Albert, Canadian it's a totally different challenge, but it's just as tough a one in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I mean, were you in the stands last year?
Yes, absolutely.
Have you? I know I had never seen any high school team go that fast
No, never.
but that efficient.
Yes.
And they never
Disciplined.
Yes,
Disciplined.
they never got any penalty procedure penalties. I'd never seen that in high school.
Yeah. And I was in a convenience store the next morning, and Aiden Hopper walked in, And I said, how nervous were you as that ball was coming towards you in the end zone? So, yeah, it was.
I remember, that because he's the only one there.
Yeah.
And, it's just – and it kind of floated to you to make sure it's on target. I remember another guy having to make a play like that on the 2-point years ago, and it was Jory when he was in high school, and it was a 2-point conversion. I think they were playing McGinnis, right? It was in the other end zone. But it was one of those where it looked like it took the ball like 10 seconds to get to him from the 3-yard, and he's the only person on that side of the end zone almost. And I got to thinking, man, you know how hard that'd be? Because you're literally you have time to think about.
You have time to pray.
Please, God, don't drop this.
Oh man, I just had a Chiefs fan try to call me, Lane Edwards. If you're upset, we're sorry, but it's just going to be a dark year for you. But anyway, yeah, it was so much fun, and I'm looking forward to tonight. It's going to be pretty intense.
Yeah, and I think there's some. I mean, I'm a little bit pessimistic, but just because of last week. Well, I don't think we're going to see anything close to the same brown and white squad as we saw last week.
No,
from an emotion standpoint, being ready to play.
Personnel-wise, too, there's a lot of people who didn't play last week, which is easy to overlook. We kind of did that too.
One or two players on a high school team missing.
Yeah,
I mean, what am I talking about on a high school team?
Yeah, we just saw
one
it in the
player
NFL.
missing last night.
Yeah.
And instead of 6, I think 6 projected starters weren't in there last week. So
yeah, and I think they might have gotten an earful all week long too. So
I was asking Coach that. Is that an opportunity? The way they played last week, is it like, okay, that was an eye opener for them? Not just, you know what I mean? Like, okay,
yeah.
we played bad, still won, but we play like that next week, we're in trouble. So maybe that was the motivation this week.
Sure.
Like, we cannot be ill prepared or play like that against a good Canadian team.
yeah, and there was.
So maybe a game like that's actually a good thing. Does that make sense?
I saw Big Riley on Friday afternoon, and I knew they had film at 9 Friday morning, and so was that fun? He just no, it was awful. And Coach Maynard did mention that he thought they responded well practicing well.
Great.
And that last year everyone's head was spinning like a quarter and a half into that.
Absolutely.
Just watching the precision with which they operated and the speed. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, like I said, I've never seen a high school team be able to do that.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts last week in Norman?
My biggest takeaway from the game last week is Gabriel better not screw up very much. That is my biggest takeaway, because Jackson Arnold looks every bit the recruit that he was. He looks like the real deal.
Here we go.
It's hard to be better.
Are you
going
to be in
perfect.
the stands rooting for?
Hard to be better than perfect.
Are we going to get another? We want Caleb. Chant,
I mean, did you hear the fans when he came in the game?
Yeah.
No, the fans cheered louder for General Booty when he came in late in the fourth. But no, yeah. But I mean, that expectation we knew was going to be there. A 5-star kid, and he delivered.
Yeah.
So yeah, but
I'm
listen,
a little nervous
Dylan,
about. Go ahead.
I don't know if, and I think, and I would hope that I know I have. Here's the deal. I like Dylan Gabriel as a person more than I do Spencer Rattler, so I'm rooting for him more. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So if he can make a few mistakes, not like horrible pick 6 mistakes.
18-year-old Spencer was just such an outstanding young man.
Oh sure, yeah. What I'm saying is I think that is the sentiment about Dylan Gabriel is from the fans' perspective.
I think from the team too. I think the team looks at him as a leader.
Yeah.
I was nervous about the offensive line though, but we've seen that from Beatonbow's offensive lines before. We've seen them start sloppy at the beginning of the year, and as the year progresses, really cement.
See, here's the thing. Everything we say good about last Saturday, it should end with, but it was Arkansas State.
Absolutely.
No, it shouldn't, because for the last 5 years, that didn't happen.
Didn't matter.
It didn't matter how bad the team was.
Hey, it wasn't just the last 5 years.
That's true. Bob
I
had some
remember
of
watching
them too.
Bob go, it's Utah State.
Yeah.
Yeah, to his team.
To his team.
Yeah. He's in the stands for that one.
Uh-huh. I could almost hear what he was saying.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So,
But the truth,
Well, I guess
the truth
I'm,
of it is,
I'm saying that because I get, yeah, sure, it's that 70-plus points against anybody is pretty dang impressive and not giving up a score. But at the end of my sentences in my mind, I think, but it was Arkansas State. But this week will be a little bit of a tougher task.
this week's going to be it's SMU's been steady. I tell you, what another thing that, and I'm not trying to ramrod the show here. God, I kind of am.
go ahead though. It's your segment.
I'm not paying for this.
Yeah.
I think that our guy North in Stillwater is going to have to learn how to run the transfer portal.
Man, I can't wait to
I'm
see.
not trying to be negative. I mean, they just don't appear to have the talent that they need to have.
I can't wait to see what he does at quarterback.
Yeah, that's on my
It's
list
a
here.
weird spot because they looked the best when his son was in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did. That's the truth. They looked the best when his son was the quarterback. The guys look like they played harder for him. And
That's what I was going to say.
that puts him in a really tough spot. Because if it doesn't go well, and he has a history of not choosing the right quarterback, we've seen it over and over up there. Eventually, he's not stubborn enough to keep banging his head in the wall. He goes, "Okay, let's trade." And it really, and honestly, it really hasn't cost them like wins a lot of times. They just look bad or losses, I guess. They just look bad in a win, and he goes, "You know what? This is dumb."
Yeah.
Bring in the right one, and then boom, they take off. But it's not a good. You got to be looking. If you're him, you got to be looking around, going, "Dadgummit, Garrett Rangel, take the reins. That way, I don't have to make this choice."
Yeah.
Because it's not Bowman. Bowman's a one-year stopgap anyway. It's not him.
Yeah.
You're not ready to play Zane Flores, the true freshman. It's just not, or I guess not. It didn't look like it.
Obviously.
And then you got Gunner.
You got your son
Dang.
that you got to eat dinner next to with mom sitting over there.
Yeah, see.
Because you know who mom thinks is the best player.
No doubt. Garrett Rangel. Now it's an interesting test because Arizona State's one of those teams, like what we saw from Colorado. They're one of the teams that have basically rebuilt the entire roster. I think they've got like 74 new guys that were brought in with a brand new coach with Ken Dillingham. And their game was weird with the Haboob rolling through during the middle of you see they had it delayed for a while. It was those horrific conditions. So it's hard to really kind of get a feel of what they were. Of course, they've got the ballyhooed recruit at quarterback with Jaden Rashada. He was the one that kind of went around different places wanting money and ended up at Arizona State.
Speaking of, have you seen Dion talking with Joel Klatt about the NIL?
Yes.
I thought it was a fantastic point.
Yes. Tell everybody. I just saw that this morning.
So he said, I've got no problem with the NIL. I've got a problem with collectives. If a kid can go out there and on his own, he can get companies to give him money and sponsor him and be on advertising, he should be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
However, Texas, we're not going to give every offensive lineman, number 1 through number 22 offensive lineman, $50,000 a year.
No, and
that don't do anything.
You know, and I've said it's brilliance. He's definitely would be against what Oklahoma's doing.
Yeah.
Because those
They're doing
preferred, the preferred walk-ons that you don't have to give a scholarship, but you get some of these guys in state that would have gone somewhere else. You see one in Clinton tonight, with Andy Bass, the quarterback at Heritage Hall. That's going to be something at OU.
Yeah,
and then I mean the Heritage Hall connection immediately makes you start and think back. If this was in place in 1999, is Wes Welker? Does he end up at OU instead of Tech? Because he wanted to go to OU, and his school is essentially paid for through the money that they're getting, instead of having to go to, almost not forced to go to Tech, but Tech was the clear choice because they offered him not having to pay for school. Yeah, that's Castiglione was talking about it yesterday.
I'll say it right now. I love my Sooners. I'm glad the kid's gonna go to Norman. If you're listening, if an Ivy League school offers you a
Well.
scholarship, take the scholarship.
Yeah, that's probably a little bit different deal. But it's going to be an interesting thing. And Castiglione was on yesterday talking about the NIL and how it's not really regulated.
Yeah.
There's kind of guidelines, but if you want
But
to,
that's one of the things Dion said. How hard are those guys going to play
Mm-hmm.
when they're getting a paycheck and they didn't earn any of it?
Well.
nobody knows who he is. The third string tackle
Mm-hmm.
that's getting a paycheck and partying every 3 days a week.
I
don't know.
think that's what happened in that locker room 2 years ago in Norman.
Yeah.
Rattler was getting all the praise and all the money, and they were going, but this guy's better. Even the players and the student. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
On the NIL thing, have you seen this about the former player from Florida? The
Yeah, he was a second-round pick in the draft.
yeah, Dexter. Did you hear about this?
Is
didn't hear
he
about it.
is he getting sued?
I'm going to read it word for word. So,
Yeah, I
because
was-
I glanced, I was busy last night and it came on my phone. I looked at it and I put my phone down. So I didn't, but I wish I had sent this to you guys before. This is definitely financial stuff. The second round pick, defensive tackle Gervin Dexter, played at Florida. He's suing Big League Advance Fund for violation of Florida's NIL and agency statutes. Dexter wasn't aware of a clause in a bad NIL deal he signed. The alleged clause says that he'll owe 15% of his pre-tax NFL earnings for, get this, 25 years.
Whoa.
So for just over $436,000, the NIL deal, he stands to lose a lot more.
Holy
Small- yeah.
smokes.
They
And
got
see,
him to sign
that's an
something.
example.
Yeah.
Well, I guarantee you, a family friend was the one negotiating.
I saw some back and forth on Twitter on this last night as well, with I guess the guy that kind of one of the workout guys that he trusted got involved with. These just exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
The uncle signed the deal with his
Yeah.
buddy, and now his buddy's going to take 15% of his NFL career.
Yeah. And his buddy doesn't have a clue what he's doing anyway.
Yeah,
No.
Didn't
Yeah.
help him in any way, shape, or form.
no, yeah, that's he was a second round pick.
Kind of makes you go, well, maybe Jackson's got it figured out, doing it all on his own, and
Maybe
he got
so.
paid.
He did get
He
paid.
got
Boy,
paid.
so did Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
You know what scares me to death? And listen, I don't need a $59 million cap hit from Dak next year, so there needs to be a different deal in place. But he's about next in line.
Yeah.
Are these just going to – I mean, is there ever a top to this? Are they just going to continue to – the very next quarterback gets to make $60 million?
And you'd think, no offense, say what you want, watching the game, there's a whole lot of people that can do what was done in Philadelphia last year.
Oh, 100% agree.
I'm sorry. Hey, I think Jalen Hurts is fantastic. I think he's a winner. That's the biggest thing. I think he's a winner. And I think he makes the players around him want to play harder for him and probably makes some things happen that other guys can't. But he ain't no Tom Brady.
There's no way.
Huh? Is he Tom Brady?
No, there should never have been a world in which Jalen Hurts signs the richest contract in the history of the NFL. That should not. We should not live in a world where that happened, but it did.
It did.
and it's happened 5 times. The highest paid player in history. It's been 5 different people this offseason.
Golly.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yes, it started with Lamar. Hurts was one of them. Herbert was one of them. Joe Burrow was one of them. There was whoever else signed.
Quarterbacks or
Yeah, they're all quarterbacks.
I don't know, but you know what I love out of
Every
all
one of them
that?
was quarterbacks. None of them are your Steelers.
2 big hits in the same division as my Steelers.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and listen, a lot of people didn't like the Trey Lance deal. Boy, I do. If Dak goes Dak this year, see ya.
You're ready to hand the reins to a guy that's played less than.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. He's only thrown 400 passes since high school,
Yeah,
but pay everybody else.
that's true.
Pay everybody else. Look what happened in Detroit last night. Jared Goff's no Hall of Famer.
He will be after this contract.
I mean,
He'll get
he'll
paid
be
after
coming
this
up next.
contract.
I just can't. At some point, it's got to quit.
Well, and Brady never took top money either. That's the thing that I don't
That's
understand.
right.
Ben Roethlisberger never took top money. Tom Brady never took top money.
Did Peyton? Did
I don't
Eli?
think so. I don't think Peyton ever did. He always left a little on the
everything
table.
Yeah.
you said, maybe not Big Ben, a little bit. Everything you said, what's the common denominator about it? They marketed themselves so well.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
see, that's the thing that makes me irate if Dak sets the market, is because there's not a more marketable position in the NFL than the damn Dallas Cowboy quarterback.
That's true.
I mean, you could but I mean, of course, the Players Association and all that working hand in hand. To,
What if Dak gets traded for the number 1 pick in the draft next year?
Boy, howdy! Come on, Drake May.
Well,
I
Caleb
guess-
Williams doesn't like the Dallas.
I guess we'll have to have the star on our fingernails now, won't we?
Well, here's if Caleb Williams doesn't like Dallas Cowboys, apparently he's gonna.
Yeah, he'll go back to
he'll
USC.
go back to SC. He's already. I saw him on a Wendy's commercial the other day.
You know,
He's
already
on.
making-
He's in the Heisman House
he's-
with
yeah, he's-
Nissan, Wendy's.
Wendy's. He's
But that's a
making-
good that is a good question. Is a Dak Prescott more valuable than Williams coming out of college?
Heck,
if you were-
no, not at the money. Not even close.
There you go.
Because I'm not 100% sure that Caleb and are better than him. But even if he's only 85%,
Yeah.
he costs what?
Yeah.
1,500% less.
So if
Heck
if you're
no.
a team that's borderline Super Bowl opportunity,
Yeah,
you see the opportunity closing.
Yeah,
Do you go with I don't know.
There's no way anybody's trading the number 1 pick.
Okay, what if it's Houston? We just said yesterday they picked
Yeah,
a quarterback.
Houston picks.
They just
but
got a
that doesn't do
quarterback.
Dallas any good. They're not going to trade for Dak.
It's going to be Phoenix first of all.
Or they're trying.
Yeah, they're trying.
They're
They
trying.
got rid of more guys.
They're trying.
It's incredible. We said it last week, and they got rid of more people.
I don't know that I've ever seen tanking to this level in the NFL.
Not in the NFL. I mean, this is some NBA stuff right here.
It is. And maybe Houston is also tanking by playing C.J. Stroud.
It's a good question.
I mean, Seattle tried to by playing Geno, and then Geno turned into like a Pro Bowler. They end up making the playoffs.
I remember him making our Sooners look pretty bad a couple of times.
Tavon Austin.
Oh, my
Jeez.
gosh.
Or
Yeah.
the Sooner defense made him look good.
That's a good point, too.
Tavon. Man. So, before you go,
All right.
give me who should be on upset watch in college football this weekend.
Man. I really haven't looked that close. There's a lot of big games. I can't remember. Like who are the bigger games?
Bama, Texas.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm sorry. Same thing. I was giving you guys a hard time for picking Dallas because I'll Dak Prescott until he wins this playoffs games. Then I'm not going to believe in him. So I'm not going to believe in Texas until they win big games.
Okay. Tech, Oregon, at Tech.
That's interesting because Tech is embarrassed.
So's your mark.
Baylor hosting Utah. Speaking of embarrassing,
Yeah.
Baylor.
Well, Baylor's not going to. They are in free fall. Baylor is in free fall.
And then the one that most people would not be able to bet. Nebraska, Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado's going to win that. Nebraska's in free fall. I don't think Nebraska will ever be back ever. I don't think
Well, they're not going to be back to 90s Nebraska.
I don't think they'll ever be back to routine seasons of 8-5 and 9-4.
If Matt Rule can't do it, nobody can.
That's a good point.
If Matt Rule can't do it, nobody can. All right, what is going on down at Garrison Financial?
Hey, I am running down there right now. We're taking care of some company retirement plans. We're taking care of some people that got into some products that maybe there were better options out there. So take a look. not sure that you're in the best product for you, if you're not sure that you're in the best performing, or maybe you need something a little safer, come down. Let's talk about it. Let's see what we need to do, and let's make a plan.
124 North Main Street. Scott at SoonerWealth.com is his email address. We'll tell you all about him as we continue to move along throughout the show. When we come up, high school football. Big one out in the Panhandle of Texas. A big one over in the Tornado Bowl. Interesting matchup in El Reno. Hollis is on the field, and then the biggest game in the state in Muskogee. Can the Roughers do it again against the Titans of Carl Albert? Talk about it next. Skinny on Sports right here on The Sports Animal.
Hello, my name is Scott Garrison. You may remember me as Scott the Barber, or just as Ron and Carla's son. I've been involved in our community since opening Scott's Barbershop on the southeast corner of 3rd and Main in 1998. Now I'm back in the same building as Garrison Financial. I started investing in my 20s. I invested through the dot-com crash and the Great Recession. I started caring for other people's money in 2018, and I truly enjoy sitting down with my clients, understanding their wants and needs, as well as what keeps them up at night. Whether my friends just want me to invest a little of their savings or want me to work with their tax and legal professionals to strive towards optimal efficiency, we can do it all. I believe communication is key to helping my clients reach their goals. For if we are faithful over a few things, we shall be given more. Contact me at scott@SoonerWealth.com. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Garrison Financial and Cambridge are not affiliated. This communication is strictly intended for individuals residing in the states of Colorado, Nevada, Oklahoma, and Texas. No offers may be made or accepted from any resident outside the specific states referenced. Cambridge does not offer tax and legal advice.
The Skinny on Sports.
Welcome back. Garrison Financial, Friday, right here on the Skinny on Sports. Scott, full financial planning. You can shop the open markets. Make sure you're in the best situation for yourself with your life insurance, all your investments. Let's say he can do your whole thing. Or if you one of those people that kind of like to manage your plan, you're just not sure how to get it started, he can charge you hourly to get that thing built, and then you can go on and manage it yourself if you're in your own time. Scott at SoonerWealth.com is his email address. 124 North Main Street is his physical location, and he's headed down there right as we speak. We got a on the text line, pregame at the Stumbling Goat suggestion for tonight.
Oh, in Canadian?
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a bar.
It's kind of a bar and grill.
Oh, I like that. Okay.
So pregame at the Goat.
Could we pregame and postgame?
I say postgame sounds like more fun than pregame, just for what we're doing.
I don't know, man. I gotta be at the ball fields at 7:15 tomorrow morning. I'm gonna be wanting to get home as soon as we can. You might be driving, so I can sleep.
That'll make let's say it'll make us get home later than if you were driving or Drew. Drew may be the driver on the way home.
But yeah, let's check out their food.
I already have.
Like what burgers?
Burgers, barbecue.
Yeah, let's go. That's it.
The Bucket is closed. That's the place that we were suggested.
Stumbling Goat.
Also, the Canadian restaurant. It's more of the home style cooking. It's there as well.
And look at me. I'm looking it up too. Stumbling. You can't put the G at the end. It's the stumbling.
Well, listen now. I'm just reading the text. I didn't type it.
Oh, I know. Stumbling Goat. Ooh.
Goat cheese sliders. We're even getting
menu
menu selections here.
This place looks 100% Texas.
Yeah,
I like it.
I'm almost positive my own cousin supplies the food for them. And then my other cousin, the one that I would take food suggestions from, he says goat cheese sliders.
What is this? They have a golf simulator.
We don't have time for that.
Half hour, $20. 30 minutes?
Oh, we're getting we're getting suggestions. Hey, the good news is, Drew, about the goat, it's not on us. All right, but the main attraction will be the game tonight with the Elks headed out to Canadian. Of course, everybody remembers last year and how just electric that atmosphere was, how great the game turned out to be. Canadian seemingly put it away on a special teams play when the Elks snapped it over the punter's head and ended up with a touchdown to go up 8 in the fourth quarter. Elk City was able to march it down there. Scott referenced the 2-point conversion play to Aiden Hopper to tie it. Canadian scored in overtime. They had the ball first, kicked the extra point, and then the Elks get a touchdown and 2-point conversion from Levy to win the game by a point in overtime. I think 37-36 was the final, if I remember right, 38-37. But it was just and Coach Maynard's referenced it basically every week he's been in here when talking about how that team a year ago, for the Elks at least, was looking for leaders, looking for guys to kind of take the reins of the team from the guys that were gone from the year before, with Mason and Drake and Corey and all those guys that had graduated off of that first semifinal run. And that game was kind of the one that started to cement who the leaders were and the pecking order, as he mentions all the time. And so now, especially after last week, and you mentioned it, there was guys that weren't there and guys that probably were the top of the totem pole, and others were looking up trying to find where they were at. Hopefully that's not the case. We hadn't heard anything official yet, but hopefully that's not the case going into tonight. But it's just one of those games that it's a heck of a challenge because of what Canadian does. It's not anything the Elks really are going to see for the rest of the year, but they are so good at it. They execute so well that, especially defensively, this is a task that it's as tough as it's going to get all year.
Yeah, it is. And I say it all the time. I think we say it all the time. You don't get better. This is what's great about this time of year is the schedulers, Coach Hunt, Coach Maynard, they control who they play. Like, okay, we have 4 spots to fill. Who are we playing? Who are our non-conference games? Or non-district games? Who we play? It's not a district game where sometimes you have to play a really bad team and no one's better for it. This is great because we can control that and play the best of the best. In this case, one of the best teams in Texas, if not the best in their class. And hopefully, despite the outcome, walk away from it better to prepare you for that rigorous district play that you have to play. So I love it. I love that the scheduling, Altus, when they're good, they're good. Bridge Creek appears to be on the way up. We know about Carl Albert. We know about Canadian. It's easy to go and say, well, let's go schedule. I don't want to say names to offend anybody. Let's go schedule that team that went 1 and whatever last year. Let's go schedule, so we can get some reps in with our young guys. That's great and all, but I think it's more beneficial to play teams like this. I love the challenge. It's going to be an incredible atmosphere in Texas, high school Texas football. That should get you excited just by saying that. And with everything that they brought back that we mentioned, their quarterback, it's going to be a great challenge. And last year, despite what happened the next week against Carl Albert, I still circle that Canadian game. That's when we knew what kind of team we got. And look where we went. So it's kind of one of those corner posts, kind of those litmus test types of games that can tell us what we got. And, I think this could be another one of those games. I think it's going to be really fairly evenly matched personnel-wise. And I don't think if we start breaking down keys of the game, being on the road is going to be incredibly tough. Can't have it start like it did last year and expect – you see what I'm saying? That's going to be tough if you get down quickly. But what's so cool about last year is playing them, seeing the speed, and then getting acclimated to it, settling down, playing Elk City football, coming out with a win. Now I think there's a little bit more expectation. Like, okay, we know what they're going to do now. We know they're going to whip it around the yard. They're going to go 120 miles per hour Mike Leach style. I think Big Elks are going to be more prepared to stop an immediate run like they did, like they gave up last year. I'm excited. I'm really excited about this game.
Yeah, more importantly, I think it showed the guys on that team last year just how good they might be able to be beating a team of that quality.
Right.
Yeah, it's fast. It's furious. It's going to be hot. And you'd think some of that would work into the Elks' favor because of the enrollments of each school, which means there's more guys available. You look at Canadian's roster; it's not nearly as long, at least as the Elks is. But you know what? it was hot and muggy here last year.
Well, yeah.
And that didn't seem to bother them. That was the thing that impressed me maybe the most about the Wildcats a year ago is even in the fourth quarter, even in overtime, they were playing guys both ways, especially up front, and they still were – were they at the very top of their game? Probably not. They were a little bit tired, a little bit worn down.
It's football, yeah.
But still, they were still putting up a heck of a fight against an offensive line of the Elks that was so good last year, and also just had to play one side.
Right, that too. That was big.
I was really the flashy stuff with the quarterbacks and receivers and all that. Oh, it's impressive. Don't get me wrong, but I was really impressed with the stamina, the strength of what Canadians guys up front had. Mm-hmm. Now they've lost a few of those. They still look the same. They're different kids with maybe same numbers. But that's what impressed me about them. And guess what? You got to be. Because, one, they're going to be going both ways. And, two, as fast as they go, they have to be ready to do it. You know what I mean? And so it's a tough challenge.
I think it's so funny that we pretend or we kind of like, oh, it's in Texas and it's only an hour and 20 minutes away. It's not like it's a different world. And I go back to that scene in Hoosiers where they show up into that gym. He brings a tape measure, and he measures the goal. Like, oh, look, it's 10 feet here. Kind of like the same. Hey, listen, it's still a 100-yard field.
Yeah,
it's now, Texas rules, though, right?
Clock rules.
I meant to ask Coach about that. How's the preparation going over the Texas?
See, I wonder, because Texas, the Texas rules have always been, since Elk City's been going to Pampa and then now Canadian. Every time you're on the road, it is a college. They have adopted the college rules, everything. So now does that mean this game is even faster because the clock?
Great question.
Doesn't stop on have they adopted that as well? Something that they'll be looking for. And that
they operate under UIL, right? I wonder if there's something I can look up.
Yeah, maybe something to look there, because I know that's always been the case. It's essentially a college football game with the rules and the penalties and the clock and all that. Another incredible task at hand for the I-40 corridor schools, Clinton, welcoming Heritage Hall. You know what? I didn't realize this. I know that they'd been playing. You realize this is the 14th year in a row that these two teams have played?
I don't know if I realized it was that many. I know they've been playing each other.
And, of course, Heritage Hall was a district game for a little bit.
They were districts. And next year they'll be district.
Right.
They'll be in the district, yeah.
Yeah, 14 in a row. I remember, with Sterling Shepard and Barry Sanders playing back then.
Yep.
And I just didn't – maybe it kind of just leapt out of my mind. But, yeah, 14 straight year these two will play. Heritage Hall leads that series 10-3. Clinton did win at Heritage Hall last year 28-7, which, by the way, was Heritage Hall's only loss of the season en route to a 3A state title. Clinton coming off the 28-0 loss to McGinnis. Get Heritage Hall in there this week. And this is a game similar to what we were talking about a second ago with Elk City and Canadian. No surprise, because this is what Clinton has done for years. Challenge themselves in the non-district and really don't even necessarily care what the results are, because it's all about getting yourself ready to go, iron sharpening iron for district play and then a long playoff run.
Yeah, this is one of the better Heritage Hall teams. Even, going back to maybe that Sterling Shepard, Barry Sanders Jr. squad, which was really good. I remember watching that game, not knowing anything about Sterling Shepard. Everybody came to watch Sanders, and I remember walking away from that game going, that Shepard kid actually might be the better player on the team. No, nothing against Sanders. He was, but that was a good team. This team, though, it goes around their quarterback, and that he is a dude. He is a football player, and you're right. He's going to go to OU, but what position? I don't know.
Yeah, and he is fat. I remember you and I watching the film from a couple of years ago when Clinton was at Heritage Hall, and all of a sudden this skinny white dude catches one over the middle and just outruns everybody.
Yeah,
we're like, who is that? Yeah, it turns out that was Gavin Freeman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, whoa,
that guy. By the way, I think he has a brother on this team.
Yes, he does. He does have a brother on this team. And you just think, golly, how fast is that guy? Well, Andy Bass is every bit like that.
With size, though.
He's bigger and stronger, but he's also like a really good track guy. as well. And so the challenge is it's a tough one tonight for the Red Tornadoes for sure. This one intrigues me. Weatherford at El Reno. Weatherford's won the last 3 years. It's the only time they played in this century. Before that, in the 20th century, El Reno won all 7 times they played. We saw El Reno in that scrimmage. Weatherford's had they've had guys step up outside of CJ. The first week it was Cy Scamahorn. He had over 100 yards receiving. Last week it was Nick Jett. He caught like 4 balls for 70 yards and also had a kickoff return for a touchdown. And so that's got to be a pretty good sign if you're Weatherford, at least offensively, that you could figure out how to get other guys involved, because you know good and well every single team they play is going to try to figure out a way to take C.J. Nixon out of the game.
Right. You want other options. For me, I wrote this down with this game. It's at El Reno, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Who's for real?
Yeah.
This is a chance for one team to say, no, we're for real. We saw El Reno in that scrimmage. We saw how many athletes they've had, and they've been pretty good in their first couple games. Weatherford, despite the loss to Newcastle, you mentioned the individual stats there, and then nice win last week against Kingfisher where they finally kind of broke out a little bit. So, when we ballyhooed Weatherford as a district contender for everything that we've mentioned, El Reno, what I just said with their athletes. So who is for real here? And this is a chance. This is a game that might tell it. I don't know if it's going to say, well, you're not for real. But what if El Reno comes out and they shut down Nixon and they get a win, convincing win? Or what if Weatherford turns around and go up and down a yard on them? They can't. Well, Reno doesn't have an answer for all their playmakers, all those junior playmakers for the Eagles. It could be one of those statement games like Elk City has, that they can circle on their calendar in December and go, that was the game we figured out who we were, and now we're for real. So that's going to be a fun game too. A lot of athletes will be on that field.
No doubt. El Reno just destroyed Chickasha around in week 0. Last week they had the lead against Piedmont basically the entire game until the very end, and then Piedmont ended up pulling away and winning that one by a touchdown. So really, that's an interesting game to me. Hollis will go to Velma Alma. Hollis won that game 8-6 last year at home. So the Tigers looking to go to 2-0 with Velma on the road at Velma Alma. Then the biggest game in the state, Carl Albert, next week opponent for the Elks at Muskogee. Jamarian Ficklin, the quarterback from Muskogee. This is Carl Albert's last loss. They lost to Coweta in game 1 last year. They lost to Muskogee the next week or the week I think maybe the week after beating Midwest City. It's the last time Carl Albert lost. Muskogee won at Carl Albert last year, 35-28. So the Titans at the Roughers tonight. That ought to be we'll see. We'll see if Muskogee might be able to put a little bit of a scare into the Titans. You're shaking your head no vehemently.
Carl Albert by 2 touchdowns plus.
And then you know what's crazy, Jared?
Yeah. What? What's crazy?
Well, now that I got to thinking about this, I may not be right. Oops. Just 1 second. Efforting. Wow, dadgummit.
I got something to say about high school football
go.
once you find it.
Go ahead.
It's kind of a rant, if that's okay.
Oh, boy. Already.
No.
Okay, fire off.
I think you'll agree with me. I think what people are doing to Choctaw is dirty. You see what they had to do last night?
Mm-mm.
They had to move what was a home game to Westmore because Westmore refused to go to Choctaw in light of the recent events a couple weeks ago. Was that Choctaw's fault that shooting happened? Was it Del City's fault? I don't even think it was their fault.
It wasn't anybody from Choctaw, and it wasn't anybody from Del City.
Exactly.
See, I mentioned this, and I couldn't remember the school, and Coach Maynard actually helped me out later on in the day. This happened to Tulsa McLean. They had to play all their games on the road because nobody would go. Choctaw's defending state runner-up in Class 6A2. Maybe this galvanizes them, and everybody better watch out.
Hey, I'm rooting for them.
For the Yellow Jackets. Okay.
I just don't think it was cool, and they had to cancel their it was supposed to be homecoming last night for them. Westmore refused to come, so they had to.
That is dirty.
I'm
agree with you.
It's overreactive. It's not that event was not Choctaw's fault. They figured out whose fault it was. That was not Choctaw's fault. And if you're going to tell me, well, it's because they allowed someone in there with a gun, you point to me one stadium that has we don't have we don't have metal detectors at every stadium. We don't have people with clear bag policies and patting down people when they come in. That was the action.
Pretty rough.
It was bad decision by one person, not even from Choctaw or Del City. Del City had to move a game up last week. Was that last week? And then this. They had to move it. A team refused to come to Choctaw.
Yeah, that's pretty weak.
It's not cool. I'm with you. I'm kind of on the Choctaw bandwagon here.
Yeah,
and that's funny. I mean, Monty makes a great point on the text line. You would think after all of that they would up their security and it would be a lot more safer. Okay, we're gonna be really cautious now.
I saw Cash last week had their home opener with Altus in town, and I saw on Twitter that the Cash Public Schools Twitter said there's going to be increased security there, just in light of what happened the week before that at Del City. Here's what's this is crazy. I'm telling you right now, this is crazy. You know what we're not talking about? High school football.
What's that?
Jinx Union. They play tonight.
Oh my goodness!
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Is it at Tulsa? Is that at the University of Tulsa? That's what they usually do it at. Yeah, no, we haven't even talked about that.
It's because Union's going to whip Jinx.
Yeah.
But it's still wild to not even that game has been the game for so long.
Oh yeah. Everybody, regardless of class, it's the biggest. Usually be the biggest game in the state.
Oh, for sure.
And it was always kind of like a preview
of the state championship game. Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I got some clarification on the clock in Texas.
Okay.
Yes, they do abide by NCAA rules, but with altercations of what the UIL wants to do. So the NCAA rule, as I read it, says when Team A offense gains a first down, the clock will no longer be stopped to award a first down except with less than 2 minutes remaining. We know that. The UIL says this NCAA rule will not apply.
So it's going to be just like last year.
In UIL games, the clock will continue to be stopped when a first down is awarded to Team A, the offense, and will be started on the ready. The only reason the clock was stopped was to award the first down. No change. So
it'll be just like a college football game a year ago.
Correct.
Very good. Speaking of college football, we almost ran ourselves out of time to talk about it. Busy day.
I wrote down some games. I wrote down some potential upsets.
Let's talk about it next. It's Garrison Financial Friday, wrapping up the week right here on the Skinny on Sports. College football talk next.
Hello, my name is Scott Garrison. You may remember me as Scott the Barber or just as Ron and Carla's son. I've been involved in our community since opening Scott's Barbershop on the southeast corner of 3rd and Main in 1998. Now I'm back in the same building as Garrison Financial. I started investing in my 20s. I invested through the dot-com crash and the Great Recession. I started caring for other people's money in 2018, and I truly enjoy sitting down with my clients, understanding their wants and needs as well as what keeps them up at night. Whether my friends just want me to invest a little of their savings or want me to work with their tax and legal professionals to strive towards optimal efficiency, we can do it all. I believe communication is key to helping my clients reach their goals. For if we are faithful over a few things, we shall be given more. Contact me at scott@soonerwealth.com. Securities offered through registered representatives of Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Garrison Financial and Cambridge are not affiliated. This communication is strictly intended for individuals residing in the states of Colorado, Nevada, Oklahoma, and Texas. No offers may be made or accepted from any resident outside the specific states referenced. Cambridge does not offer tax and legal advice.
The Skinny on Sports.
Welcome back. Skinny on Sports, 98.1 FM, the sports animal, wrapping up a Garrison Financial Friday with some college football talk. Oklahoma figures to have a much tougher opponent come to Owen Field tomorrow with SMU. SMU of the ACC all of a sudden. You think that they'll chant ACC if they knock off the Sooners from the crowd?
Maybe. I don't know.
Do they have the ACC love yet?
Well, they're not going to get paid to have ACC love. They're not getting paid for it.
I don't think they care.
No.
They've got a seat at the table. But
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Let them chant.
What are your thoughts?
Of the game?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, tougher opponent. I'm just interested to see if, everything we hear from OU players is that this is a suffocating, relentless defense. I don't know about that. Sure, last week was something, but it was Arkansas State. But let's see if that can continue. I want to see if that, edge pressure on the quarterback. Saw a little bit of that last week. I know it only resulted, 1-2 sacks? But it that is something. Secondary play. I mean, it's all going to be amped up a little bit. Well, it's going to be better than last week's opponent. I want to see if the defense is as suffocating, I'm air quoting here, as they say they are. So that's what I'm kind of keying in on. I don't think the offense will be a problem. I think the offense was, the wide receivers were better than I thought they'd be with a few guys, some of the new guys. But that's what I'm looking for on the defensive side. How about you?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see defensively exactly what this will be a much, much stiffer challenge than what we saw last week with Arkansas State. Rhett Lashley, the coach down there at SMU, he was kind of Malzahn's guy for a lot of those years, at Auburn, and now he's got his chance here at SMU. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to pick apart anything from that game the other day negatively against OU. I guess if you want to talk about the pressure, not getting sacks, but then when you actually go back and watch, they were getting Shrout off of his spot over and over and over. They just, they were three-step drops and getting the ball out of there. It's hard to get back there that fast, but they were, it wasn't like he had all day to throw. So offensively, yeah, you see glimpses. The thing about what OU did last week offensively that's probably different than what anybody thought was they got contributions receiving core-wise from guys not named Stoops or Farouk. Obviously Drake had the touchdown early, but then he was out of the game, and Farouk a couple his way, but I don't even know if he had a catch, maybe one. But there, you saw.
Did Stogner even have a grab?
I don't think Stogner did either.
Right,
but
the big names.
Blake Smith did, and McIntyre at the tight end.
The kid from Michigan,
Andrell Anthony.
He looked good.
Nick Anderson, Jaden Gibson.
Gibson finally looks like the guy that they recruited. Right?
So there's different. There was different options out there in that win. Now you see. Okay, here's the thing. This team was 3-0 a year ago.
Yeah. And
ended up. 3-6, 3-7 down the stretch. So,
yep.
But a much tougher task defensively, I think this week for Oklahoma. And so, if you can keep this team in the teens, that's a good sign again to me. And anything better than that is pretty awesome. Oklahoma State, this game is fascinating to me and what they're going to do at quarterback on the road. What is Arizona State with all those new guys? I think you see the line so low, Oklahoma State favored by 3, because I don't know if anybody has any idea about either one of these two teams. Arizona State barely got past, was it Southern Utah, I think? But that they literally had to stop the game because of a haboob that blew through. One of those windstorms. So don't know if that's a fair indication of what the Sun Devils are. This game reminds me so much of 2 years ago. Oklahoma State goes out to Boise, and they claw and fight and end up with that win, and that catapulted that team into the Big 12 title game and almost into the playoff. I'm not saying that it gets that far this year, but this is I know a lot of people like that South Alabama team that's coming to Stillwater next as kind of a surprise, better-than-you-think team. So this is one that Oklahoma State really needs to go out, buckle down, play well, get a win, and then get prepared for the Jaguars.
Yeah, I don't know if the quarterback shuffle needs to continue. The longer that continues, the more detrimental it can be on the field and off. So I'm hoping that Mike settles on a guy, finds his guy, whenever that may be in the course of this game, and settles with them. Because doing that at home is one thing, but doing it on the road, I don't care who it is, Arizona State or if it's Delaware. You don't want to do all that stuff on the road. And will it be a hostile environment? Hearing reports are going to have like a blackout. They're asking the fans to get there. It's a night game. It's obviously that it's going to be hot. It's the desert. It's always hot. So we'll see. I want to see a better effort than last week. I can tell you that. We'll see. But the quarterback shuffle thing, that concerns me.
Yeah, eventually you got to kind of settle on somebody. But you also need that person to show you to settle on them.
Yeah, someone. Yeah, Mike's probably going, hey,
Step
listen,
up and
I want
take
to pick somebody, but
that's
no
right.
one's shown me anything.
Somebody step up and take the job.
Yeah.
The big one around the country, obviously, Texas going to Alabama. This game was way closer than anybody thought last year in Austin, a game that a lot of people think Texas might have won, maybe should have won, even with Ewers going out, and Ewers was slicing and dicing the Alabama defense before he went out midway through the second quarter. Did Jalen Milroe answer Bama quarterback question marks last week against Middle Tennessee? I don't know. You need to do it against Texas. Texas offense struggled in the first half against Rice, then got things kind of together. I'm fascinated to see what happens because I can't get out of my head the way this game went last year and the way that Texas looked more than ready to take on that Alabama team that at that point in the season, some people, Nick Saban included, were calling it maybe his best team ever. It didn't turn out to be that way, but that was an impressive showing in maybe the best game Texas played all year in that loss. Can they go down to Bryant-Denny Stadium and replicate that and even get a win against Alabama?
And it's doing it one thing on 11 a.m. on Austin. It's doing it again at night in Tuscaloosa. I love Milroe. I think he's a star in the making with his arm and his legs. That's gonna get. I think he's gonna go not crazy, but he's gonna keep Texas defense on their toes enough where I think Alabama will be okay in this one. Although, going into this all summer long, I said Texas, the more we got closer to this game, and the more we're starting hearing about what's going on in Bama and their turnover, including quarterback, and what Texas is returning. I was high on Texas in this game. But it's that, remember that trust thing we talked about with Alabama? That I always trust that they just get those wins. This is another one. I just can't go against Texas. I can't go against Alabama in this one.
The line to me is fishy.
Right at 7 still?
But why?
Why hasn't it moved?
Why isn't it more?
Yeah, you think it'd increase? Yeah.
Why isn't it more? Because you'd think it would be more than that, but it's not. I think Vegas has some respect for Texas. I don't.
Last week's slow start is very concerning.
Yeah, but here's the
were
nobody.
They looking ahead,
of course they were.
Yeah.
Of course they didn't. They were going to beat Rice with whatever. It's all about this one. And here's the deal. On Monday, if they go down there and win in Tuscaloosa, you know what no one's ever going to talk about again? God, that first half against Rice wasn't very good.
That's
Who
true.
cares? We
Yep.
just beat Bama.
Yep.
Woohoo! Interesting game. I think Bama wins, but it will not shock me if Texas goes down there and wins. Other games that look fun, Tech, Oregon. I think this one's almost even more fun with Tech losing last week.
Yeah.
A little bit, and at night in Lubbock, we've seen for years what that means. Craziness. Tortillas flying, whatever. Oregon put 81 on the board last week. One that's going under the radar and shouldn't, in my mind, is Ole Miss Tulane.
Oh, I circled that one.
Ole Miss Tulane ought to be fun.
Yeah. At Tulane.
At Tulane.
At Tulane.
And it's not at the Superdome. It's at
Tulane.
Ullman Stadium.
Right.
What about you? What other ones did you circle?
Yeah, that one, we mentioned Nebraska at Colorado earlier. Colorado high off that win. Nebraska, finding a way to lose again in spectacular fashion against Minnesota last week. They'd love nothing more to come in and pull off the upset here.
Okay,
against
before
an
we
old
change from
rival.
this game,
Go ahead.
what do you think the stadium split at Folsom Field? What do you think the stadium split of fans is going to be?
I'll give you percentage. I'd say. Do you have the number?
No.
You think you're saying Nebraska's going to travel well?
Heck yes.
Yeah?
I think Nebraska.
60.
60-40 Colorado, maybe?
You think so?
Oh,
Really?
I think there's going to
Yeah?
be tons of red in that stadium.
I wonder how far in advance Colorado started selling tickets for this game
That's
in
why.
anticipation of this is Coach Prime's home debut.
I think they started selling them before they knew it was Coach Prime as their coach.
Yeah.
And Nebraska goes, yes, we'll buy
Match
them
them up.
Yep.
Yeah. Who was hired first? Was it Rule or Prime?
I don't remember. That's a good question.
Because who has more excitement for at the time? when
Right.
those tickets were on
Well,
sale.
I just think Nebraska hadn't played them in a while. You know, that became kind of
Oh, it was a fun rivalry.
a rivalry.
Yeah. It was a fun.
I think there's going to be
Big
tons and tons and
Big
tons of red-clad
Yeah,
Nebraska
yeah. Oh,
fans.
well, they always travel well. I mean, they're a proud fan base.
Did you see what Bama did to Texas fans? And the band's not even going, I don't think. You remember last year the hubbub about
Oh, they put them way up in the corner. Yeah.
Bama did the same thing back.
To the Texas band.
And the fans. Put them all up there. And I thought I read that Texas band may not even be going.
Wow, that's crazy.
I love it. The pettiness of the SEC. Anything else? Upset watch?
Listen, I know Baylor looked like dog poo last week, but Utah at Baylor, that's a kind of an upset watch I'm looking at. And those are the three, the Utah, Baylor game, Nebraska, Colorado, Ole Miss, Tulane. Those are three like upset watch games I'm looking at. Games that just intrigue me. You mentioned Oregon, Texas Tech, A&M at Miami. I mentioned earlier in the week, Tulsa at Washington, and Notre Dame at NC State.
That's the one that I've got.
And I'm not picking the upset here, but it was this time a year ago that this team pulled off an upset, and it turned out to be against a really bad A&M team later down the road. But Appalachian State at North Carolina.
Who is doing the scheduling for MAC? Quit playing Appalachian State. They went there. Was it last year? They went there and almost got beat, like 65-62 or something like that.
I can't remember.
Quit playing Appalachian State.
Somebody's got
Stop it.
Maybe a lot of people are going, I want to play this team.
I wouldn't either. That's my whole point.
Yeah.
North Carolina, skip out on that one.
Yeah.
Huh. Hey, that one could be, God knows how many points are going up in that one.
Yeah.
Notre Dame at NC State. I know I've been high on Notre Dame, as much so as to pick them to make the playoff. This one scares me to death.
Iowa at Iowa State.
And
Iowa
then, yes.
that Drew. Listen, it doesn't excite me. I'm channel surfing right by it. I don't want to watch a 3-0 game.
It's 10-7 last year.
Yeah, I get it. It's a fun in-state rivalry for those two, the Cy-Hawk and all that. And sometimes you get some really good games. If you're an old school guy, I guess you'd like this game, but I don't know how good these two teams are. Iowa State with their controversy. Iowa's
got it too.
What's that?
A bunch of their guys are that way too. That's what I was saying.
Right, the gambling stuff.
The gambling, yeah.
It is on Iowa too.
Let's all call up to Iowa and see what they got. I'm trying to find the over-under. What do you think the over-under is for Iowa State?
20?
It's higher than that.
I don't know. What is it?
I don't know. It's higher than that.
Is it?
Yes, surely to goodness.
I don't know.
Well, efforting. I've rushed past it. There may not have a line on it. Dadgummit. It's 30-something, I bet. 38, 40, something in that neighborhood.
I'm taking the
Here
under.
it is. 36.5.
Give me the under.
36.5.
And not because they play good defense. I'm not sure about their. Iowa's offense might be a tick better. They got the better.
Did you see
quarterback.
last week? They threw a touchdown pass on the opening drive of the season, and that was the first time that had happened since like 1991 or something crazy like that. Like not even Kirk Ferentz.
Wow. Wow.
Oh man.
Yeah. Listen, I get it. That game can give you some fun games, but based on the rest of the schedule this week, I'm more inclined just to skip it and go watch.
Well, you got A&M Miami at that same time,
Yeah, see,
and you've got and Ole Miss Tulane.
Those intrigue me more. That game, the Cy-Hawk, does not move the needle nationally for me. Is it going to have a huge implication of who's going to be in the playoff?
No, sometimes it does. I mean, I think like Iowa State, when they actually win this game, other than last year was such an anomaly. Because usually when they win, they have one of their better seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, no thanks. I'm out.
Yeah.
Give me Ole Miss Tulane all day long.
Enjoy your ear of corn, Drew, while you watch that game.
Everybody have a great weekend.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.